Hi.
Long time no see.
I know, at least not virtually.
That's right. On Zoom.
Yeah. Um, Today is a very special episode of You're Doing It Wrong because Mia, am going to be interviewing you, Risdon.
Hi.
Hi. For what will eventually be transcribed into a book that I'm working on.
You want to do it wrong? I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
Let's do everything wrong. It's honestly, it's more fun and
Never done anything
less
right in my life.
less pressure. Yeah. If you just go into it knowing that you're doing it wrong,
Yeah,
there's no way to fail.
that's right.
um okay, well, I guess I'd like to start by asking you your definition of cancel culture.
Boy. Yeah, I think I want to start by saying that I think people get confused about what cancel culture is a lot. Um, One of the things that I think is a strong distinction is differentiating between consequences and cancellation. So, like, for example, me setting a boundary with somebody that, like, I don't want to hang out with them isn't canceling. But I think,
Isn't canceling them, but you might be canceling plans.
yes, yes. I would argue just like blocking somebody isn't canceling them. Canceling it goes beyond the personal relationship. And I think
Mm.
specifically to me, like, cancellation has a lot to do with trying to remove someone from your reality. So being like, I don't ever want this person to come to my coffee shop again. You're not allowed to come to my coffee shop because we had a bad breakup. Or you're not allowed to have your job anymore because I don't think you should be able to earn a living, which is different, I also want to say, than being like, you can't have that specific job because it makes you, it gives you access to people who are vulnerable that you've proven you can't be responsible with that power dynamic. Um, yeah, so to me, cancellation has to do with consequences that are not inter they're not about your relationship with that person. A lot of times they're more like extreme, having to do with essentially an attempt to ruin someone's life as a consequence, instead of just
Mhm.
being like, I can't really be around you anymore, dog, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I wrote a piece and like talked about this in a class where like, once upon a time cancellation was about removing people from positions of power
Mm.
that where they had been institutionally and systemically protected
Mm-hmm.
such that they could continue to abuse their power,
Mm-hmm.
um, and take advantage of people who had less power than them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw 20 some odd women come forward about Harvey Weinstein.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
was Matt Lauer, Louis C.K.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about like patterns. It was about stopping patterns of abuse and giving voice to people who had previously been powerless to stop this abuse. Um, and then it like fractaled into these like tinier and tinier um, conflicts, where someone felt slighted or someone said something that was like ignorant or but not with malicious intent even, or like someone broke up with somebody and um somebody else felt that that person, as you said, like shouldn't have the right to make a living, to have community, to have support. And what I've seen is I really don't believe that people can grow and learn and heal and change in isolation. And these attempts to essentially remove somebody from their community and strip them of their ability to make a living, uh, creates conditions in which they will never learn and never change and have zero support, which I think ultimately, damages us all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're pushing those people into places where where people have less. What is the word I'm looking for? Like you're pushing them into more marginalized communities. Like if the original community that somebody is in where they're canceled has enough power to kick them out and to have a public outcry that people listen to, like that's a space with some level of privilege, right? So if you're pushing them out of that space, where are they going? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. They also, I think it creates a situation where that person not only doesn't really have the ability to learn from their mistakes and actions, in part because they no longer have any, like there's no communication or conflict resolution with the person or people that feel that this person has harmed them. But they also, if they're, if all of that like context and history is removed because they no longer are connected to any of those people and can't get any feedback or guidance, they just become someone else's problem, like a new community's problem. And then those people don't know about them and don't know, because there are certainly people that you and I have both known where we're like, oh man, like if that person just up and leaves Los Angeles because a lot of people are upset with them, nobody in, New York City, like knows what's up with this person. And there's no, that person can't change, but also now they just sort of like perpetuate the same kinds of harm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is when we have these conversations, is this person interested in change? Is this person capable of reflecting on their behavior and seeing that maybe they have a part in what's transpiring? And also, do the people who are calling them out or in or canceling them have any interest in that person changing? Because a lot of times they don't. They would rather that they go. There's a fantasy that people who've hurt me can go away forever, which is part of what prison is about, right? We're enacting that fantasy. But the reality is people really don't, especially now in this like internet globalization. Like you used the example, if someone moves to New York, it's like you and I both have a ton of community in New York. A lot of us go back and forth. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a sticky conversation to have, because I think there are like a lot of people who feel incredibly disenfranchised and not supported by various systems we have in place that are, at least theoretically intended to achieve some kind of justice. Like when people don't feel like those are serving them or care about them, this mode of, giant air quotes, like achieving justice can feel like the only option. Which I think just speaks to so many problems within like our like prison system and police system and law enforcement and legal system and so on and so forth. But I think you and I have both also seen such a range of like why this happens, anywhere from someone has done something very objectively wrong that everyone would agree is wrong, all the way to like someone broke up with somebody because they didn't want to date anymore, and now that person is being smeared on social media and someone is telling all their friends not to, it's a betrayal to me if you hang out with that person, or writing to their employers, past employee, like anyone who works with them, saying like you're complicit. So anyway, you work directly with people who have experienced this, have been on like the receiving end of being canceled. You've developed your own coaching container for that. And you're also trained in restorative justice circle
Yeah,
facilitation.
restorative practice circles. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that training, what it's like and what it has equipped you to do, and then how you have like developed your own practice of supporting people who've experienced this?
Yeah. So I would say, well, talking about restorative practices is interesting because being sort of in this work, I say sort of because I'm in grad school, so I like can barely do much else. But people still reach out to me a lot to be like, hey, like, can you facilitate? And I hear a lot. I don't think people understand how formal and what is the word I'm looking for? Like specific restorative circles are. So people will come to me and be like, "Oh, we're facilitating a peace circle," and they've just made up a protocol. Like they're like, "Oh, it's a restorative practice, and it's the person who's in trouble and 35 people who hate them." That's not we. There's like a very specific way that this stuff works. Like including that the facilitator is supposed to like call and talk to all the people involved. Both the person who's caused harm and the person who's experienced harm are supposed to have a support person with them. Like it's very like uh what is the word I'm looking for, Mia? Like this, not bespoke, but like specific guidelines. Like it's not,
Yeah.
there's really not a ton of room for creative license. Like, and so
It's like very codified.
yes, there's like a specific way of doing it. And so it's interesting. People kind of love to throw around these terms like transformative justice, restorative practice, and they're just like making shit up. And I'm like, that's not, you don't get to use, but we have a lot of that culturally now. I feel like people use the word predator a lot when it's not predation, like we're, I don't know, these big words like justice. I'm like, okay, like,
Well, you and I did a whole episode on like violence, harm, and I made a post about that recently and got some flack for it. But, I think words mean things.
yes.
And when you just decide that they mean other things, or you, what's it called? Like,
Expand the definition or something.
well, expand the definition, but also like, make one word so big that it's supposed to encompass a huge range of like severity.
Yes. Like
And you collapse, that's the word, like collapse it all into like one extreme or the other, into a binary.
Yes.
Like you remove all nuance. So when we call it violence, when someone punches someone in the nose, and then we also call it violence when someone like bumps into you at the grocery store, like that. And those are sort of like fake examples, but like those are extremely different. And if you define them both as violent, you remove a lot of the truth of what's going on.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of not to get us totally off topic, but the way people use the word trauma. Trauma is like a medical defined thing. Capital T trauma. Like there's like 5 things that count as actual trauma when we're talking about the DSM. And like the people who can actually diagnose and say like this was a traumatic event. But then everybody wants to, for some reason, people want to have this experience of being traumatized to justify their behavior. And so things are being called trauma that aren't trauma. And it's like, that wouldn't be a problem, except then, yeah, you're grouping the experience of, somebody forgetting your birthday with somebody surviving war. And those just aren't the same thing. I'm sorry, they're not,
Right.
Anyway, getting back to what you originally asked me. Yeah, I would say the first thing that I do with clients when they come to me after a cancellation is I make them do nothing. That's a really big part. Usually people who are calling somebody out or canceling somebody really want them to almost like perform a choreographed dance for them as quickly as possible, like behave in a certain way, post something, say something, do something. And my strong feeling is pretty much anything done out of urgency is inauthentic. So I usually actually have clients do an accountability statement as the last thing that we do together once they've really worked a process of accountability, rather than just saying it from a place of frankly people pleasing, trying to avoid consequences. You know what I mean? It's they're sort of throwing things to the mob in an attempt to like not be executed essentially. And I'm just like,
Right.
what we need to do is stabilize you, because it is, I guess I would say, I don't know if it's real trauma or what we call lowercase t trauma, but the experience of exile is extremely, it's
Well,
in our
very activating
yes,
at the
yes,
least.
yes. It's in our nervous systems to experience it as a fear of death, even though it is not death. It historically, when we were living in communities and tribes and interdependent, it would have been death to be exiled. So there's this thing in us that's so terrified and so upset when when
Mm-hmm.
cancellation happens. So stabilizing is like a big part of what I do, making sure they have support. Do they need to be in 12-step? You know, what's going on with drugs and alcohol? A lot of people come to me and that's a thing that's causing some of their behavior or is in some way at play. I've definitely sent people to inpatient and to the psych ward. Like, so I'm laughing because I'm just like, I know it's not a great place to go, but it's better than people killing themselves. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's always, if you ever need to know transit-informed psych wards,
Mm.
I'm your guy for that in LA. Yeah, and then I would say before we start reaching out to people to see about processes, we really go through the accusations. And one of my favorite exercises is a T chart of what's mine and what's not, because
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of what happens in these experiences is like we've said, there's an oversimplified picture being painted of like, I'm a bad guy, right? Let's say, like, a lot of people I work with are of masculine experience, either whatever, take that as you will. And so yeah, everything from like you were a terrible roommate to like you know, dated people and leveraged power dynamics in ways that were really inappropriate and caused a lot of harm. Like, that all gets kind of grouped in together to paint a picture of this person's character as bad. So it's really helpful to go through and separate like of the accusations, because it'll snowball into this thing of like, you're a pedophile, you're an abuser, you're a sociopath. And it's like, okay, did you actually abuse anybody? Did you actually, you know, like experience minor attraction, or did you act on any minor attraction? You know, like, let's like really go through this and parse it out. And generally what we find is that people are acting from either, again, uppercase T or lowercase t trauma, and they've fucked up big time. One of my favorite things to say to my clients, usually like towards the end when I've really built trust with them, you fucked up big time, homie, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we can get into once we identify really like what is yours to own, and we stabilize them, their nervous systems emotionally, then we can move through eventually, like move into taking responsibility, ownership, restorative practices. What do those people need? What can we give them that's going to
Mm-hmm.
move forward? And how do we change our behavior? What does change behavior look like, etc.? And then most people don't need a public facing statement, I don't think. Sometimes I have people write one anyway in case they need it, or I call it an internal statement, like they just write it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, that's sort of an overview of what it looks like.
Yeah. Amazing. I I mean I love what you're talking about, and I can't help but go to this place of like, this is what you just outlined is what you do and what can happen when someone has in fact fucked up big time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And in so many instances, someone just doesn't like somebody, right? Someone has a bad experience with somebody. Someone is triggered by somebody in a way that has nothing to do with that person in that moment, but has everything to do with their capital T trauma from before
Yes.
coming up. And what concerns me so much about that is that it tears communities apart.
Mm-hmm.
It like pits people against each other in ways that are not helping us fight larger injustices, are not helping us fight systems of oppression, and ultimately does not bring healing to the individual, does not bring healing to the community. It's, this like wild overreaction instead of being able to just kind of go like, I just don't really like that person. Like you're allowed to just not like people. And I think or like find someone annoying or not get along. You're even allowed to like want to avoid somebody in your life, at a party, at an event, at a venue, without deciding that they like don't deserve love, don't deserve friends, don't deserve connection, or to be able to like afford to live, without deciding that they're a monster or a nightmare or a horrible person or evil. And I'm so often so confused and like heartbroken by what I see. So I'm wondering how you see those as different. Someone has actually seriously fucked up and harmed someone, harm versus like hurt somebody's someone was left feeling hurt, or they just don't like you and that's somehow like not enough.
Yeah, I would say so. My general rule for what we call accountability coaching, even though I fucking hate that word, but whatever. It's just been so co-opted. You know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
The person who's caused harm has to be the one who reaches out to me. So if people,
Yes.
yeah, so like people who have been harmed, or let's say accusers, I don't want to use what language, I don't know. I've been open to some phone calls from those people, and it's never moved forward into work, like into actually, because if it starts with that person being willing to change, regardless, like you said, if it was just a bad breakup or they did something terrible, if they're not the one initiating it, because they're the one who's going to be paying me, first of all, they're the one going to be doing the work, then it's just not going to happen. And I would say like it just, I mean, I've worked with people where I'm like, very different extremes of like real harm, like, damn, you really fucked up here. You know what I mean? Versus like, yeah, this person was really triggered by your behavior and you
right.
could have done something differently. And some of this isn't yours. And I can still facilitate a conversation for you guys. You know what I mean? And maybe there's still something for you to learn here, because you're probably going to encounter other people with trauma. You know what I mean? But like, there's less of a like, this person isn't going to lose their job. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I would agree. But I generally don't have people, because the consequences of, I just don't really have people come to me being like, I'm being falsely accused of something. A lot of times it's snowballed and become more grand than it actually is.
Yes.
It's exaggerated. But like, it's very rare for people who come to me, for there not to be some truth, because I think there's people are wanting to do the work and there's something to do the work on if they're coming to me. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a way that like, to tie this in with consent as like a larger theme. I have seen, obviously I love consent. It's like it's so important to me. It's like sacred to me, and there's a way that I have seen consent used as a tool for punishment. Like we've talked about this. And also, I've had so many people come to me who want to do better, who want to learn, who want to be good people, who love and value their community and their friendships. And what they tell me is, I violated someone's consent. Like, I'm so upset. I think I really fucked up. I violated this person's consent. And then they tell me the story and I'm like, no, you didn't. That person doesn't like what you did.
It's like a retroactive.
Yeah. And it's retroactive for sure. Like they feel bad at the end of an interaction. And so they like look back at what happened to find the moment that they can put a dart in and be like, here's where you fucked up. And then calling something a consent violation is sort of like a conversation ender, because
Totally.
now you are on the defensive and all you can do is apologize and promise to do better. When what I'm hearing is that this person just doesn't like a decision that you made or doesn't like something that you said. Anyway, I'm just trying to think about like where to take this conversation because we don't have a ton of time, but I'm like, I'm so
I'm like, do we need to do another one of these?
Well, maybe.
I know you have so much on your plate, but
well, the reason why I find myself thinking about this so often is that ultimately I'm so invested in building community, building connection, you know, building long lasting relationships. And to me, like that's what consent is really for. Like that's what it is a tool for. And so to see it get weaponized in this way is so disheartening. Like it really makes me really sad. And honestly makes me wonder like what I can possibly do in like sometimes I just want to kind of give up and quit what I do, because I'm like, how do I get it across that this is like a beautiful a way for us to stay connected when I see it get used so often to tear us apart. I really I feel like relationships are kind of my life's work. Like that's like almost like it's almost like an art, you know. It's like it's something that I practice and practice and practice and practice, and it's something that is so important to me. And so when I'm teaching consent and I'm talking about consent and even this book, it's with the goal of helping build more and deeper connection, you know?
Yeah. And something that's coming up for me a lot recently is I've been faced with a lot of fragility in my life lately. And when you talk about consent, a word that comes up for me is resiliency. There's, when you, Mia, talk about and teach consent, it's not about yes means yes, no means no. This is a contract. This is, the way we think of the way, like a sort of overly simplified version of consent. But it's actually about this space between and like, where is my no in my body? Like, do I feel safe to say no to someone? Am I regulated enough to hear no from somebody else and still walk forward with them? Like that shit is really important. And that is the opposite of fucking fragility. And I think a lot of times people use consent. Yeah. Like they throw it down like a red card, consent violation. You know what I mean? The game stops. Everyone's like, wrap it up, put them in the box. I can't believe I'm using a fucking sports metaphor right now.
Who are you?
Nobody listening to this is going to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's like you said, it's the sort of like timeout button to say consent violation. And it's like, but that's actually because there's SA. And then that's a different thing than being like, hey, like Mia, like, we've definitely had moments, you and I, where I've violated your consent. I remember so specifically us eating at this restaurant and I moved your plate. Do you remember this? Because I'm a people pleaser in this very big sisterly sort of way. And you were cutting your steak and it was moving the plate around and I grabbed the plate and held it and you were like, ma'am,
yeah.
what are you doing? And
but I would not call that violating my consent, no, Risdon.
But it's an interesting thing that happened however many years ago. And if I had been more fragile or if you had been more fragile, do you see what I'm saying? That it could have been like, I feel attacked because I annoyed or bothered Mia, or Mia is like, Risdon doesn't believe I can take care, whatever the fucking stories are, but it requires like resiliency and trust to be like, I
Right.
can fuck up. And I feel like the way that people use consent sometimes, as you
Right.
said, as this red flag is
Well,
the opposite.
yeah, but I mean, you just did it. Like, you were like, I violated your consent. I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't violate my consent. You kind of invaded my space in a way that made me feel a little smothered.
Yeah,
Like,
it was like
that's what
icky.
happened.
Yes.
Yeah, I was annoyed.
Yes. It's like I did something you didn't like.
Right. But
You know
like,
what I'm
right.
saying?
If I were in a place where I had like very extreme black and white thinking, or I wanted to figure out how to get out of a friendship with you without actually processing or establishing boundaries or having any kind of difficult conversation, I could have decided that that was a consent violation or a boundary violation. Therefore, Risdon is bad and I don't want her in my life anymore. And that's that. You said something about like you're knowing your no in your body and your yes in your body, but I also want to really address like also knowing what it feels like in your body when you feel ready to take a risk that scares you, or when you feel trusting enough of the person that you're with to do something with them that makes you nervous, or even when you feel enough trust and comfort with a person and maybe love that like you're willing to do something that you don't even really like because they like it, and you choose to do it in a way that afterwards, if you decide that you never want to do it again, it's not their fault.
This is like, yes, this is so big. I have two things to say about this. Number one is this is what sex work is all about. People are like, oh, it's not
Yes.
consensual because you don't want to do it. I'm like,
No.
oh, but I am willing to do it. Just because I'm not experiencing desire for the person I'm doing
Right.
surrogate partner therapy with, for example, like I might not be like, they're not my type or whatever, but I'm willing to do it because it comes from a place of generosity. And I
Right.
feel really good educating and helping somebody launch in this way. It gives me incredible self-esteem. Do you know what I mean? So even
Right.
though it's
Right.
not sexual desire, it's still a willingness and knowing that like the positive experience will be there on the other side. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. I have an example of not sex work, not a sex work example, but a really great example that I would love to hear what you think of this. So a while ago, my partner was like out of town for a while on a job, I think. I think this might have been, yeah, like over a year ago. And I asked him if he liked phone sex at all. And I kind of expected no. Like I just kind of was like, I don't get that vibe from you, you know? Um, and he was like, I don't really get much out of it, but I'm really good at it. And I loved that because I was like, that's willingness. That's not wanting, but willing. And that's being so happy to do something for me if I want it, without his own genuine desire to do the thing.
Yeah. Isn't it like entirely what parenting is? Like
Right.
nobody wants to blow somebody else's nose. Do you know
Ew.
what I mean? But you
No.
but you do it, or like change a diaper or
Right.
like sit in a fucking carpool lane, but you do it because it's esteemable and you like it gives you a sense of self, right? You're like, "Oh, I'm doing
Yes.
this thing. I'm helping build this person." Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, that's, I don't know. We could get into a whole conversation about like, does altruism exist? Like that would be like the philosophical route to go down. Like if you're actually getting anything out of it, is there such a thing as like a selfless good deed? Whatever. I won't go there. But
our undergraduate in philosophy, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I
There's
have
also
one more. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, please.
I wanted to loop back to something you said of like, I'm going to misquote you, but I did this workshop with Midori, who's a BDSM educator. And something that she talked about a lot and that I appreciated was she was like, if I came into the BDSM scene now, I wouldn't have stayed. And she's like, probably our biggest gift in that community, I would argue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's, also like one of the most well-known people in that field.
Yeah. And I don't want to misspeak for her, but something that came up a lot was this thing of like, we have taken all of the joy of discovery and stretching and like trying something new and exploration, and we've stripped it into everything needs to be so safe and so sterile and so whatever. And I think you brought that up, this thing of being like, I don't know if I like that, but I want to explore it. It's like that's what this need, I mean, especially I would argue in kink and BDSM, and with sex to some degree too, vanilla sex, like a little bit of a willingness, otherwise it gets a little, it's not really fun. Like, and the whole point is for things to be fun.
Well, I also feel like you don't know if you like stuff until you try it so often. I'm thinking of like the first time I ever like I was nervous to have sex the first time. I didn't know what I liked or what I wanted. Like, if anyone asked me, I would have been like, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't have enthusiastic sex if you don't know what you like. And you can't know what you like until you do some experimentation.
Yeah. Yeah. And a little, again, this resiliency of being able to be like, I feel safe enough to yellow or red on you. You know what I mean? Like, this is why I tell tops all the time, like, you have to vet your bottoms. You have to vet your
Yes.
Yes. Are they comfortable saying no to you? Because that's where we get into a lot of trouble. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's how you build trust, and it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Anyway, consent's over. It was fun. We had fun doing it.
Yeah, yeah. We can put it to bed. It's been co-opted and misused, and now it's over.
And it's over.
I'm kidding. Well, this was great. I feel like we should stop here.
Yeah. This is enough for you.
Yeah, this is enough for me. Is this enough for you? Anything else that you feel?
You know me. I could talk till the
Me too.
Come home. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you gonna end the recording?
I'm gonna pause it.
Okay, great.
Okay.